Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander, and I'm from Youth Employment Services. Today, we're going to be talking about job searching. Now, a lot of this information I'm about to give all of you, it's going to be a lot in a short amount of time, so please write everything down that you can. And if you have any questions, please leave some comments below about maybe questions that you might have. You can send me an email. I'm here for you, especially in this time that we're dealing with. We're here to help you find jobs. And even with this time that's going on, with COVID-19, uh, people are still able to get jobs actually. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to find those jobs. Uh, so our aim today is really know how to plan for your job search and where to actually look for jobs. People don't know where to look in general. So first of all, I'm going to show you this. Now, what is that? To the untrained eye, that might look just like a picture of an iceberg, but actually, it is the job market. Okay, at the very top of here, right here, is just little sliver, the open job market. It's just the surface. Those are all advertised jobs, all advertised jobs. And then, so the thing is, it only makes up 15% of all jobs. All jobs are about 15% of all jobs, um, typically, and 85 of all job seekers look there. But how about the bottom? Besides advertised jobs, well, it's a hidden job market, unadvertised jobs. So you got about 85% of all jobs. They're not even advertised. So only 15% of job seekers actually look there traditionally. We're trying to get the word out for people to look at this, hidden job market. So how would you find these jobs? That's the question. How do you find all these unadvertised jobs? That's just a question. I'll let it sit for about a split second here. All right. So I'm going to read three scenarios here. I want to read three scenarios for all of you. So this is typically for, especially if you're in high school. So Jennifer is in grade 10, and she wants to find her first job. She printed off some copies of her resume, changed into her interview clothes, and visited local businesses asking who might be hiring. When she checked the local pizza place, the manager looked over her resume and interviewed her right on the spot. She starts Monday. Okay, so right now this would not be applicable in these months, with COVID-19, but this is a good way to find a job. Just walking around a neighborhood asking for a job. There was actually no job that was actually advertised, right? She just walked around the neighborhood and she found a job. This is very typical. By the way, I'm wearing a tie today. I usually don't wear ties when I go out to work. I'm at home, but I'm still wearing a tie because I am job searching with you, pretending that I'm job searching. It's always good to look nice, put interview clothes on. And I think later I might make a little video about how to tie a tie, especially the way I tie a tie. It's a little complicated. Anyway, I digress. So that's one of the ways you can find a job, walking around your neighborhood. Okay, scenario 2. Malik loves music. He wants to work in the industry but does not know how to find a job. After looking into a few music stores and applied to a bunch of jobs online before he remembered that his aunt works for a music festival in the summer. He called her and asked about some job search advice. She gives him some job leads. He is now excited for his options. This is a very common thing for a lot of young people to find jobs through their family. Job leads through their family. I know my first job was with my dad. I know a lot of people, their first jobs are with their family, or they got job leads through their family. I know somebody who works at I actually do know somebody who works at a music store because their dad works at that music store in Winnipeg, somewhere here. Anyway, that's pretty interesting. So you can really find a job just like that. Asking your family members. Again, you can apply for a lot of stuff online. But at the end of the day, you might not get a call back. But if you have that personal connection, especially with your aunt or uncle or whatever family member, your stepson, you guys are, typically you guys don't have kids, but some of you might. Anyway, through family, that is how you can find a job. Okay, let's talk about scenario 3. James enjoys hands-on work and was looking for a general labor position in a warehouse. After some attempts for applying jobs online without success, James used Google Maps to find warehouses in his neighborhood where he could call directly and ask if they were hiring. After several calls to different companies, he landed an interview. So he just used Google Maps. Google Maps is all you need really for that. Um, it's pretty wild actually. You just need to do that. So again, a lot of you cannot go outside right now or don't want to go outside. So use Google Maps instead of like walking around. Just literally do like a street view and see what businesses are there, and then you can call those businesses. Look them up, and note that none of these jobs were advertised. Just what we call that, just calling employers out of the blue. That's called cold calling, and we're actually going to do a cold call today. I'm going to be calling an employer today, so we're going to do that. So again, an overview. So with an open job market, you can look at with Indeed, Workopolis, GG Career Fairs. There's a lot of online things for jobs. However, again, you can apply for these jobs, but they're not going to really know your face. There's going to be a big stereotype that Zoomers and millennials, we do not know how to talk to people. That we can only text each other. That's the only way we can talk. Is like you're 5 feet away from me, but I'm gonna text you. Oh hey, how are you doing? But you're right there. But is that true? No, not necessarily. Prove an employer wrong. So you call them, you go to them first. That's what the hidden job market is all about. So you taking the initiative. Like if you go to Yellow Pages, going to Yellow Pages is actually a way for you to find jobs. So let's say you want to be a welder. You look up different welding businesses, different machinery places, or different restaurants. Yellow Pages, it might be old school, but people actually still post different organizations on there. Again, jobs won't be posted on there, but you'll find the contact information for a business that you might want to work at. And cold calling, that is so important. Cold calling is calling an employer out of the blue. And you should do your research, of course, before. That's actually how I got my job at Youth Employment Services. And I'm not even from Canada. I'm not even from Winnipeg or Canada. I'm actually from the United States. I back in 2019 or early 2019, I actually I was looking for a job here because my wife, we were engaged at the time, was living here, and I was living down south, and I wanted to try to find a job as an employment specialist. So I went to different businesses. I looked up their websites, and I found out about Youth Employment Services. I really learned about it. I really did my research on it. And then I called my now boss. Her name's Charity. She's awesome. I called her up, and I talked about my experience. I talked about my situation, and I got a job eventually. So, and here I am. So Google Maps, we talked about that as well. That's a really good way to find it, and that's one of the ways I found, I think, Youth Employment Service. I wanted to see where they were and everything. I scouted everything out. I never lived in Winnipeg before, so that's how I scouted everything out. Research is key when it comes to looking for a job. That is so important. Just going to company websites, that's how you can find a job. Walkabouts, just walking around your neighborhood when it's safe. And networking. Networking is so important. What is networking? That's a question. Networking is really getting yourself connected. So back at that store we were talking about before with Malik and his aunt, they both networked. And because of, with the aunt, he got to get connected with other people. Networking is also a way that, so let's say you worked at a place in the past. You could talk to that employer and ask, hey, are there other jobs that are available like this job? Assuming that you left that job on good terms. Always building that network of people around you to find job leads. It could be family members, old coworkers. LinkedIn is a really good website to try to find, to really network with people. Before I moved to Winnipeg, I actually used LinkedIn, and I learned about Winnipeg through LinkedIn. So I never got a job lead from LinkedIn, but I learned about different resources. That's networking. What we're doing right now, you listening to me, that's networking because you're trying to find a job. Well, guess what? At Youth Employment Services, we can help you find jobs, right? So that is a networking. Knowing Alexander, that is networking. If you guys need a job down south in Chicago, let me know. That's where I'm from. See, that is a networking. I'll give you the ultimate classic story about networking, and it's a true story. It's about my Uncle Julio. I just call him Uncle Julio. If any of you should meet Uncle Julio, well, he's Uncle Julio. He's not just Julio. He's not even my real uncle, but he is pretty much my uncle. So back in the 90s, no, not 90s, no, that was early 2000s. My dad, he was working for a business, and he went to Florida for a conference, some kind of conference. And he was a manager, I think, at that time for an IT company. I don't think he could hire people. He would have to ask his boss if he wanted to hire people. So, and by the way, my dad, as a backstory, just to get this connection here. My dad, he is from Venezuela, and so he was in Florida, and this guy comes out of nowhere. His name is Julio, and he goes to my dad, and he says, and it's in Spanish. I don't really know Spanish, unless you want to understand if I spoke in Spanish. But this is what he said. This is what he said to my dad. Hey, so I heard you're Venezuelan. I'm Venezuelan. Hey, I was wondering if I could have a job with your company. This guy comes out of nowhere, and he learns that about my dad, that he's Venezuelan. I don't know the full story how he learned that my dad was Venezuelan. Maybe he picked up on his accent. My dad said, no, we're not hiring at the moment. And by the way, I would not do this approach of trying to find a job. My father, he said, no, we're not hiring at the moment. But if you hand in your resume, we'll give you a call back. That is the typical response of an employer. But did Julio like that? No. In fact, story, he actually came from Venezuela just for that networking, and he was in the States temporarily just to look for a job. And so he said to my dad, no. See, I'm here. Might as well just give me an interview right now. I'm qualified. These are the reasons why I'm qualified. Let me know if there's an opening. I really want to work for you. But it was a little bit more forceful than that. He said, he really wanted a job, and there was no job available. But he said, I want to work for you. So my dad goes back home to Chicago. This Julio guy just keeps on calling my dad. Hey, did I get the job? Did I get the job? Did you talk to your boss? And well, typically, would people get a job like that, annoying an employer? No, but somehow Julio got that job, and he became such good family friends. He was even at my wedding. It was awesome. He is the man. Now, I wouldn't recommend you doing that. I wouldn't be Julio. I'd be 20% Julio. You got to be a little bit persistent, trying to make those connections with different people. Maybe my dad wasn't hiring maybe on the spot when he was in Florida, but 2 weeks after, maybe that's how he got the job, is that maybe 2 weeks after the company found funding for that, and he actually got the job. I know when I was, trying to apply for Youth Employment Services, I would always try to follow up with Charity to ask her, where are we at with my work permit? Where are we at with, putting me on your team? Always connecting with your employer, a possible future employer, is really good. Let's say that you call a company and they just don't want to, they don't want to hire at the moment. Try to find out what their name is. And I'm going to show you what a job searching sheet you should have. That's how to really keep track of all your jobs. So actually right now I am going to call an employer. I'm going to call McDonald's Pembina and see if they're actually hiring. So let's see, where are we at here? Okay, there we go. I'm going to call an employer right now so all of you can hear me actually calling an employer. So here we go. It'll just be a second.
Hello, McDonald's. Megan speaking.
Yeah, hello. I was wondering if, could I please talk to the manager?
Speaking.
Oh, great. Megan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was curious, are you guys currently hiring at the moment? Okay, apply online. How would I do that?
If you go to our website, you can choose careers, and then from there you would choose the location that you'd like to apply to.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
So we're the Pamela location.
Okay, oh, Pemina location. All right. So, okay, great. And what hours do you usually work? So if I were to hand in your resume, I would see you there.
Me, I'm working full time, so I'll be here pretty much anytime during the day. Sometimes I take night shifts. It just varies for me.
Okay, great. So my name's Alexander, and I would love to meet you, and we can talk about it. And I'll hand in my resume. So,
Okay, sounds good.
okay,
I will see you there, Alexander.
okay. Thank you. You have a great day.
Yeah, you have a good day.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. Okay, so I lied. I said I called an employer. That was actually my coworker. Usually I do call an employer, but with these times right now, with the COVID-19 and everything, I don't want to trick anybody into thinking that I actually want a job. But that is typically actually how what happens when you call an employer. Sometimes when you do call an employer, though, uh, they might be rude to you. That happens actually. Or notice I asked for the manager. A lot of times, if you just pick up, and I was actually about to do it, and I stopped myself because even I'm not so good at cold calling. Even when I call my coworker, I was about to ask, "Are you guys hiring at the moment?" Because if you right out of the gate ask, "Are you hiring at the moment?" um, it might be just some employee, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know, or they just might make something up. So if you actually talk to that manager, you can actually get some better information. Also, let's say you call and they say, the main manager is not in right now. You could ask, when are they coming in? And then from there, call them when the manager is actually in there, and then you can talk to them about that. It's just a really good way to try to find a job. Um, And actually, so I found out this manager's name was Megan. And Megan, by the way, is a resource assistant at Youth Employment Services. Um, Probably you guys might know about our top 10. It's a list of top 10 full-time and part-time jobs. She helps with that. We post that twice a week. You can find that on our Facebook, I believe, and online. So just ask about the top 10. We have those lists. So it's just a really good way to find a job. Now, cold calling, I don't like cold calling, honestly. But that is how you find a job. I remember when I was a employment specialist back in Chicago, I would actually have to call them on behalf of my clients that I worked with. I don't do that anymore, but man, I did not like it at all. But after keep on calling, after you practice it, it really works. You can actually find jobs like that. You might hate it, but try to get your nerves out. Just practice. Worst case scenario, you call them, and they're gonna be like, "What?" And they're probably not gonna remember you. There's so many calls. It establishes just personal relationships. So one thing that's really good, again, I keep on repeating myself again and again because it's so important to know. You want to have those connections. So I called Megan, and she told me about the job lead. Let's say that I apply and I didn't get the job. I can keep on asking, hey, like maybe in a month or so, are you guys hiring at the moment? Or I could call 2 weeks after, are you hiring? I'm being a little bit of Julio, not 100% Julio. I'm being 20% Julio, just a little bit, right? So this is typically what a job search form would look like. Um, and if you go online, look up job search sheet, and you will find like all sorts of resources. So just Google job search sheet, and you'll be able to find these. When you're trying to find a job, uh, I'm going to assume that you don't have a job right now. So make it your full-time job to find a job. So it's important to really keep track of everything. Have the date applied, the position, company name, their email address, and their address, because you want to know actually where they are, the contact person, phone number, if you have to submit an application or not, right, whether you submitted your resume. So let's say you actually did apply for that job. You want to do a follow-up call, be a little bit of Julio, right? So you applied for that job. A week or two after, call them again and ask, hey, did you get a chance to look over my resume? What do you think? you want to be very organized when it comes to trying to find a job. So I hope that helps. The next important thing is, well, an employer might ask, tell me about yourself. They might say, oh, so you want to work for this company? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? And this is good for interview prep. And it's just good in general to, I think this is just a good thing in general to know about yourself, because I think that is so hard to really know, who am I? It's almost like an existential question, right? Um, so you should be able to talk about yourself to up to 1 minute and you want to summarize everything about yourself that is related to work. Now, how do you write that down? Now, that's why you have this acronym here, equal, without the U. The U is you. You are you, right? So, experience. What are some things that you've done in the past? And this could be working. If you don't have any work experience, you might have volunteered. Maybe in the past you babysat before. Maybe you have experience cleaning things. You have experience mowing lawns, things like that. Qualifications. What are some skills you have that match the job description or the certain job that you're trying to apply for? And your education level. Are you grade 9, 10, 11, 12? Are you currently in university right now? Are you in the trades right now? What are some qualifications that you have? Attributes. What are some things that describe you? When you're trying to find a job, you're trying to show them that you are a person, not just some robotic worker, right? So this is, the A and L of equal are very important. Who are you? Well, I'm a fun and energetic individual, and I love working with all sorts of people. I love doing presentations. I love doing live presentations, which I really can't do that often anymore. And life, volunteering, hobbies. What are some things, that you might do for fun that might relate to the work that you're doing? Let's go back to the thing about Malik before. Maybe he can talk about, oh, well, I love music. That's why I want to apply for this job. No employer wants to hear somebody that says, I just want to work here for the money. I want to get paid. I want to leave. No, you want to talk about yourself. How are you a person that employer will appreciate, will want to keep you on? So just try to keep that in mind. And if I were you, I would try to write this down. Equal experience, qualifications, attributes in life. And usually at this time in the presentation, I would ask all of you to write down specific things about your experience, qualifications, attributes in life. So try to write those down. That's a really good resource for you to really think about who you are. So summary, I want all of you to be optimistic and believe in yourself, because a big thing when you're trying to apply for a job, and I say this all the time, every presentation pretty much I say. So I'm going to ask all of you a question, and I want you to answer back to a screen here. When you're applying for the job, who should get that job that you're applying for? Who should get that job? You. You should get that job. You're like Julio. Uncle Julio knew he was the best person for that job, and he got that job, and he worked for my dad for 15 years. Really good. My dad started up his own business, and Julio was a big partner with that. He really helped him out. Take time to develop your networking skills and practice your elevator speech. That's, when you're talking about yourself in 1 minute. And cold calling techniques. Practice with it. You know how I called my coworker Megan and pretended that she was in McDonald's? Just practice that. Like, I even fumbled with that, right? And that's even just with my coworker. Remember that only 10 to 25% of all jobs are advertised. And I just want to say, why don't employers advertise their jobs? Because it takes a lot of time and money. That's why. I did not see a job posting anywhere as an education coordinator at Youth Employment Services when I went to call charity, because it takes up a lot of time to advertise for jobs. So you go out there and you find those jobs yourself. Here's another thing to talk about that I didn't really talk about as much is be open to volunteering and job shadowing as a way to gain experience. And actually, volunteering can actually lead to a job. I'll give you a story about myself. When I was in college, I was an intern. I was supposed to do, I think, 150 hours of internship. I ended up doing 300 because I loved working there. It was a mental health organization. Um, and I had some coworkers, not coworkers, I had some colleagues of mine at college, and they were really dumb because they said, Alexander, why are you working, for free? Why aren't they paying you? They should be paying you. Internships, unpaid internships are so dumb because you don't get paid, and it's like slavery. That's what they said. They actually said that. Kind of stupid. You know why they're stupid? Because actually, 6 months after I graduated, or no, it was 6 or 7 months after I graduated from the university, that company that I volunteered for 300 hours that I really worked really hard at, they hired me as an employment specialist. So volunteering, you could actually lead to a job. And plus, now I always have that connection with that organization. I know who those people are, and they can always help me in the future. And I really gained experience, and that's why I'm here at Youth Employment Services, because I was an employment specialist in the past. I wouldn't have been able actually to go to Winnipeg if it wasn't for being a employment specialist. Kind of a long story. And of course, keep track of your job search activities. So important to do that. Because you might apply for a bunch of jobs, and then you're trying to think, I apply for that job, I forgot, but what did I apply? Always keep track of everything that you can. So again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. This would be a point when we will practice searching for jobs in a classroom, but we're not doing that right now because we're obviously not face to face right now. But I would still encourage all of you to try to search. Just try to practice this out. You can even go on Indeed to look for it. But I really emphasize use the hidden job market. It's so helpful. And my email is on the bottom there. So please send me an email. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. So again, we're on social media. We're on YouTube. Like this video is on YouTube. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. But thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.